It's time for Arts This Week, a Broadway binge edition with a look at the latest plays to see in New York City. Full disclosure, Death of a Salesman has always been one of my favorite plays. It was written by Arthur Miller in 1949, an artist's way of processing America after the war. He considered the trauma that had washed over the country, how it fractured families and put a sizable dent in the nation's collective optimism. Miller examined it all to heart-wrenching effect, as we're reminded now in a stellar revival on Broadway. But this time, and for the first time on Broadway anyway, it's through the lens of a black family. Wendell Pierce plays Willie Loman, Low Man, a salesman at the end of his career who's seen his American dream dissolve into a puddle. All those years of life on the road only to end up behind on payments, working for a boss who debases him, and as the father of two sons who don't respect him. In many ways, this has always been Linda Loman's play. Willie's wife, played by Sharon D. Clarke, is the observer, reconciling how it is that her family, their lives, have so unraveled. Watching her husband come apart, she exclaims, "Attention must be paid." Some 70 years later, those words from Death of a Salesman live to be an international rallying cry. Romeo? What Romeo? That's the premise of the new direct-from-London musical and Juliet, now playing on Broadway. It's opening night of Romeo and Juliet, 1595. But William Shakespeare's wife, Anne Hathaway, is having none of what her husband has written. In a hilarious performance by Betsy Wolfe, she wonders why Juliet has to die. After all, Romeo and Juliet have only known each other 4 days. So Hathaway takes agency and the quill from Will, and together they revise the story, allowing Juliet to live and embark on her own journey from Verona to Paris and the promise of legit life and love. And Juliet is the work of David West Reed, a leading writer of Schitt's Creek, and Max Martin, billed as one of the most successful songwriters of all time. So here, Shakespeare's sonnets are swapped for lyrics we've heard from Britney Spears, Katy Perry, the Backstreet Boys, and more. It works. It's very clever and often hilarious. It could have been sharper and deeper, especially to give our revived Juliet some nuance, but I also appreciated the show's echoes of the real Shakespeare, of zany comedic subplots and frivolity. For it all, and Juliet is a great time. Take Me Out, a riveting revival of the 2002 play now on Broadway, begins with the national anthem. It signals the start of America's favorite pastime, that it's a fresh day, a new game, a place where every player is on common ground, or turf. But in his comedy drama Take Me Out, playwright Richard Greenberg dismantles baseball through the story of Darren Lemming. Played by Jesse Williams, he's a star, a biracial player extraordinary on the field who keeps his personal life under wraps off it. It all works for him as he glides through life. It works for the baseball fans who like their heroes uncomplicated. But then comes the quote-unquote mess when Darren comes out. His gayness sends the team and the national conversation into a tailspin. Baseball isn't just the national pastime here. Lemming's gay business manager is played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who won a Tony for the role. He astutely observes, baseball is the perfect metaphor for hope in a democratic society, a place where everyone is given the same chance, until they aren't. Lemming's race wasn't an issue, but his gayness forces a reckoning. For his teammates naked in the locker room with him, for an institution that likes things just the way they are, thank you very much. As is often the case, Take Me Out is just as resonant today as it was 20 years ago. It's a fascinating dissection of society. It's also wickedly funny and engrossing. All that to say, this revival is well worth the extra innings. And here's what I'm looking forward to next week. The Mystic Seaport Museum in Connecticut ferries us off to Venice for a dazzling look at Sargent, Whistler, and Venetian glass, and a show organized by the Smithsonian. This has been your Arts and Culture Download. I'll see you back here next week.